Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, Tell Me Your Story. This is your host, Chris Baker. Hi, how you doing? And today's special guest to tell his story is, you want to go as Bullseye or you want to go as Bryan?
Either one. That's fine.
All right, we're going to tell the story of Bryan, Bullseye the Clown. Give it up for Bullseye. Yeah.
Woo, yay!
Welcome to the show, man. How are you
Thank you
doing?
so much. I'm doing great. Nice and toasty warm.
You can say that again. Let's kick this off by starting it off, Bryan. Where does life begin for you? Where does it start? Where did you grow up at?
Well, I grew up in Ohio, a little town in Ohio called Coshocton, Ohio, and lived there until, of course, I went to college. I actually went to college in Ohio as well. I went to college at Ashland University in Ashland, Ohio, and I was a theater major. And so I had these wonderful aspirations that I was going to travel off to Hollywood and be a famous actor, or New York City, and that didn't happen. yeah, that didn't happen. Instead, actually, right out of college, I always got I was a theater major, so I always got like the comedy parts in all of the plays. And so everybody told me, "Oh, you should be a stand-up comedian. You're always so funny." And so actually, right out of college, that's kind of what I did. I found a book at a bookstore called Stand Up Comedy, the book on how to become a stand-up comedian. And I started doing all these exercises in the book and starting to write a comedy act. And there was a phone number in the back of the book. The woman who wrote the book her name was Judy Carter. And I had never heard of her. So I thought, well, I don't know. I don't even know if she's funny. So I thought I better call that number in the back of the book. I wanted to see if she was traveling so that I could go see her show to see if she was funny. And so I called the number in the back of the book. I said, "Yes, is Judy Carter coming to Ohio? Because I don't even know if she's funny." And the lady on the other end says, "Yes, I'm funny." it was actually her. And so how I started was she was coming to Ohio for 3 shows. And so she told me, "Do the exercises in the book. You're going to be my opening act." And that's kind of how I started. I was her opening act. Those were my first 3 gigs. Yeah. So
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, the very first one was terrible. It was awful. It was like crickets, And so then we went back to the hotel room and we're like rewriting all the jokes. And then the second show, it actually was a little better. I got a few laughs, and then by the third show, of course, it was a lot better. So that's kind of how it all started. And then I did stand up for like 10 years.
Okay. Now, for the younger audience, they want to know, was this technology or was this before technology, your childhood growing up?
Oh, well, that was definitely before technology. Like I said, we had a microphone. That was about as most technologically advanced as we were at that time.
Are you talking about the microphone that you attached to your phone, or?
Oh no, I don't even think we had cell phones at that time. I'm almost certain we didn't. And if we did, they were like the size of like a brick. They were like those huge, like a walkie-talkie. But actually, I didn't even think we had cell phones back then. Because when I had the contactor, I'd have to go to the hotel desk and ask them to ring her room and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we didn't even have cell phones back then. So it's hard to believe there was a time before cell phones.
I kind of like, for me, it's like I fall in between. I'm like from the 90s. I grew up in the 90s and then the early 2000s. So I got to see the peak of it. Like I was like in between. We were growing up with the Nintendo and then the PlayStation. And then eventually the cell phones came into play.
I was born in 71. So I think I graduated college in 1993. So I think this tour probably was 94 or 95, so that was probably about the time that I started doing stand-up, was around 94, 95.
All right. Now, how was stand-up back then compared to now? Because everybody thinks now you could just get behind your phone screen and start, be a comedian on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and it goes viral. Well, really kind of like tell us what it was like.
Yeah, and honestly, that was probably an easier way to do it. I mean, it actually was kind of harder to get started back then, in the fact that you had to have, every club you went to had to have a tape. They wanted a videotape of you doing your show. Well, the day that you might have somebody there to videotape your show, maybe your show didn't go very well, or nobody laughed, or they were focused on the pole beside you and they never actually got you in the frame, or So it was a lot of trial and error to get a good tape to the comedy club. So that it was a little trickier. Some clubs you could audition for in person, but then of course you'd have to drive there in person and audition. So it was a lot different than it is now. You can just, hey, let me videotape myself on my phone and I'll send it right over to you. We didn't have that back then, so it was a lot trickier to get seen back then. And it was so funny. There was a time Rosie O'Donnell had her talk show. And when her talk show went off the air, there was another talk show that briefly took her place called The Caroline Ray Show. And she came to Ohio to the Cleveland Improv, and she was looking for comedians to be on her show. And so they filmed all of our auditions. Well, I didn't get picked or anything to be on her show. And then like maybe 3 days later, I get all these phone calls, people saying, we saw you on the Caroline Ray Show. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, she started airing some of the auditions of the people who auditioned. And she actually showed like my video on the air. And so I actually started getting work just from the fact that out of the thin blue air, she put me on her show, and I started getting a bunch of calls. So that was kind of nice. Again, kind of like a very organic way of doing it, but I'd already been doing stand-up probably 4 years or 5 before that even happened. So it was a lot harder to get discovered. So that's kind of why I'm a undiscovered talent up to this point. Because I did that for like 10 years, and then after that I wasn't being fulfilled by doing that. It was just, I'm like, there's got to be more to life than making a bunch of drunk people laugh. I wasn't sure what that was. I wasn't sure what that was exactly, but I just knew, I'm like, okay, this is not what I want to do. And during that time, I started kind of feeling like I was called to do something else. And so I thought, well, maybe since I'm doing stand-up comedy and I feel like this pull toward church and doing some other things, I thought, well, maybe God wants me to write a comedy show to take into churches, to be a Christian comedian. I thought that maybe that was what and try as I could. I tried to write jokes that were not secular. I was trying to write some clean jokes. Not that my jokes were like dirty, but I was trying to write some jokes that were be fit to tell in church, and I just couldn't. So I thought, well, that must not be the call, because I just can't seem to write a set that would be squeaky clean enough to do in a church. so I thought, well, okay, I didn't get the right call. So I'm like that. Apparently I picked up the wrong phone on that end. So and so I just quit. I just quit doing stand-up. I wasn't really enjoying it at that time. In some respects, like it is today, it was very political at that time. So like every club kind of had their own set of rules. So you would walk into one club and they would say, you can't say this, you can't say this, you can't say this, you can't talk about that, you can't look this way, you can't look that way, and after a while it kind of got, you have to have 30 laughs a minute. If you don't get 30 laughs a minute, we won't ask you back tomorrow, even though you were booked for an entire weekend. So after a while it just wasn't fun, because you had to kind of plan everything out and you had to think about so many things while you were up there. And I'm like, okay, this is not fun. And so after 10 years of that, I'm like, you know what, I'm done. And I don't know what I'm going to do. So I just kind of took a normal job, in a place that I didn't like.
No, that's what I was going to ask too. It was like going from being a comedian and being in that lifestyle to suddenly all of a sudden you're pulled out of that. And now you're going back to working like a regular job. That had to be a big switch up. I'm thinking to myself, that had to be like a big change. Big change. It was going from making people laugh, drunk people laugh, and then all of a sudden you're working on a fit line somewhere.
Well, it was a
retail
factory. I won't say what factory it was, but it was a pretty popular. It's a pretty popular place. Yeah, and honestly, when my dream was, to be an actor or to be a performer. And then to go from that to working in a factory, that was kind of a death in its own. It was kind of like, okay, I'm putting that part of my life away, or I've stopped doing that part of my life. So in a way, that was kind of like a spiritual death in a way. It was kind of like, this is something that I had dreamed of doing, and now I'm going to be doing something that I hate. That's not me. And, and I did that for 3 years. I was kind of in that, funk of 3 years of working in this job that I didn't like. And it was in the course of that job where my dad had passed away. And so when my dad, that was by this point, it was 2018. So my dad passed away in April of 2018. And so at the time, I decided to quit the job that I was working so that I could come back to Ohio. I had moved to Arizona during all of that hullabaloo. So I came back to Ohio to kind of settle up all my dad's affairs and things like that. So that took like a month or so, and my dad had left me a little bit of money, so I was able to take a year off. So during that year, it was just kind of one of those years of, what do I do with my life, and pray about it and see what happens. And do I hear a sigh? Is there a sign? Is there a burning bush? Is there something that's happening that's going to, exactly, like, hello, what am I going to do? And so I remembered years ago seeing a movie, Patch Adams. I don't know if you've seen the movie with Robin Williams.
Yes, I have. That's a great movie.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, that name just kept popping up in my head. And so I watched the movie again. I thought, well, maybe there's something in this movie that's God's trying to lead me to something in this movie. And so I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, well, nothing's popping up. And so then I thought, well, who is Patch Adams? And I found out it's a real true story. It's a true story of Patch Adams. And so I decided to do a search online. I started searching for Patch Adams, found out he likes to say he's a clown who just happens to be a doctor. And he believes that most people can be cured more through human connection and laughter than by pumping them full of a bunch of drugs. And so he was leading clown tours all over the world. He would go into hospitals and orphanages and prisons and burn units, things like that. And he would go, different countries all over the world. And so I just happened to look at his website and found that they were doing one in 2018 to Russia. It was for 14 days in Russia. I had never been out of the United States, so I thought, oh, well, I don't know. Something just kept calling me, so I had to write Patch a letter because he is old school. He doesn't have email. He doesn't have a cell phone. So I wrote a letter saying, I've never clowned before, but I've done stand-up comedy. Is this something I can do? And, oh, yeah, sure. Come along. And so before I knew it, here I am. I was on a plane with 35 clowns heading to Russia. I just grabbed some clothes, and I found some clown clothes I found on Amazon, and I had a clown nose and some costumes, and here I was in the middle of Russia for 14 days. I thought, I'm a stand-up comedian. I can probably make people laugh, not taking into account, of course, that they all spoke Russian and I spoke English, that I didn't understand Russian and they didn't understand English. So had that thought crossed my mind, I probably wouldn't have gone. But I did. So there I was, stuck in the middle of Russia with 35 clowns and Patch Adams, and going into hospitals and orphanages and things like that. So that's kind of how this all started. I mean, at this point, I'm like 47. I mean, I never thought at 47 and going into my 50s in the second half of my life that this is what the world would see.
Now, let me ask you a question though. What was it like meeting Patch Adams in real life? I mean, getting to know him, and was he like your mentor? Did he teach you how to become a clown? He
did, and like I said, he was a lot more opinionated than I thought he would be. And I've even interviewed him for a couple of. I write for a clown magazine too, so I actually interviewed him for a clown magazine, and I said, if people want to know about the movie Patch Adams in your real life, what would you say? And he said, first of all, the movie was so tame compared to my real life. So if you thought the movie was outrageous, he's probably 10 times worse in person. So, but he was great. Like I said, his whole philosophy was, he had talked at length about how years ago when he was 18, 19 years old, he tried to commit suicide, and he was in a mental institution, and he just decided one day to, why do I want to feel this way? I just want to make sure that I never have another bad day. And so from that day forward, he checked himself out of the mental institution, and he just decided he was going to go on this love revolution where he was just going to spread love and be happy and spread joy and peace. And that's kind of, he just made that decision for himself. And from the time he was 19 and he's about 81 now, he's been on that same journey ever since. And so I found that very inspiring whenever I was on my trip. Like I said, I was just going through the death of my father, and I was going through, you know, kind of like the death of my previous career and all that. And I really never thought that I would continue to do this. I just thought, okay, this is gonna be this clown thing I did one summer, you know, and I'll go home and then I'll have to sit down and figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. And and then while we were on this trip, I just saw the power that we had as a clown. We could go into places that normally people would not be allowed to go into. And when we walked into a room, I could see, like, we would walk into a hospital room, and you could definitely see somebody in complete and utter pain when you walk in. And the moment they see you, you just see that pain leave their face for 15, 20 minutes, however long you're in that room dealing with them. You just can see this transformation in them for that time that you're there, that of what your presence is doing for them. And I mean, I'm just assuming that, you know, we were working through, or God was working through us to help relieve whatever pain that was or whatever situation that was. And I just kept seeing things that entire trip that, you know, and it could be something very, very small. You know, I tell this story a lot, probably every interview I do, but it's true. Probably the smallest little gesture. We were on a bus. This was before we even went to the first gig. We're on a bus with 35 clowns heading to an orphanage. And our bus comes to a stop at a stoplight. And I look out the window and there's a bus stop and there's an old woman holding a bag of groceries. And there's like maybe 10 people at the bus stop. Nobody's paying attention to the old woman. And so I just kind of tapped on the glass and she looked up, and I have no idea what she thought when she saw, you know, 35 clowns staring at her. But so here I am. I just kind of wave at her, you know, and she's like, oh no. And so she just kind of waves a little bit, and I wave a little faster. She waves a little faster. And then by this point, all of the clowns on the bus saw what I was doing, and they all turned and they're all waving at her, you know. And then the light changed and the bus pulled away. And as the bus is pulling away, the woman sits down on a bench and she starts to cry. Why she started to cry, I don't have any idea. Maybe it was the first time somebody noticed her that day or that month. Maybe for just that 30 seconds, she felt seen. Maybe she was just happy that she wasn't kidnapped by a bus of clowns. I have no idea what her thought process was, but and you know, and I kind of found that to be the case. I found that to kind of be the case everywhere we went. We don't always know the impact that we had on each person that we visit or that we went to, and maybe it's not for us to know. But what I found on that particular trip anyway was I had a lot of hurt going into the trip, you know, with the death of my father, and something I didn't really go into, but I was bullied a lot in school. And so I had still a lot of angst and anxiety about that as well. But when I came back from that trip, all of that hurt and all of the anger that I had from the years of pent up anger, and probably I still had some resentment for the fact that I stopped doing stand up, and I hadn't been doing that for a long time. And but when I came back, all of that stuff was gone. You know, when you spend 14 straight days doing nothing but nice things for other people, that in turn heals you inside as well. So I thought, well, there's kind of something to this clowning. And again, I really never thought I would do it again. Once I got home, I thought, okay, that'll be just like the one little clown thing I did. You know,
take the nose out, put it up.
Put it on a little string and hang it up, you know.
That's all, folks.
That's it. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, you know. And then all of a sudden, something kept eating at me, and I kept wanting, I guess, that feeling of taking away people's pain and helping people in some way. And so then I went on another trip with Patch Adams to Morocco, and then I went on another one to Mexico, and then I went on another one to Costa Rica. And so I just kept doing some clown tours here and there, and I would do some clowning back here in Arizona. I came back, I started doing a program called Clown Fitness, where I would go into nursing homes and I would be dressed as a clown, and I would do a fitness program with balloons and stuff like that. And and then visit people in their rooms who couldn't come out of their room. And that's kind of how this all started. And I just kept, one thing kept happening after another. And here I am.
Now, like I would ask, like added to this, ask real quick. So outside of like your personal life and everybody, like, what was it like when you finally started telling, like, revealing people that I'm a clown? Like, when people ask what you do for a living, what do you do? I'm a clown.
Yeah.
How were people reacting when you were telling them?
Yeah, my mom still doesn't get it. She's like, I don't get that. You're going to dress up like a clown and now you're going to go on a podcast and talk to somebody about that. Why are you doing that? You know,
I'm a clown.
Yeah, and she doesn't get, you know, whenever I tell, you know, we have to get, we go on these trips and we have to get up like 6 o'clock in the morning and get our makeup on and we got to get our clown. And then we're going into the hospitals and we're trekking across this and we're dragging she's like, that doesn't even sound like a vacation. That sounds absolutely horrible. You know, and it's interesting. I wonder what my dad would think. You know, my dad's never seen me dressed like a clown. I wasn't even doing this prior to his death. So I was doing theater though. So my dad did come and see every play that I was ever in. So I think he would get a kick out of it. And if not, this is all his fault. So it's your fault. I look like this. Yeah, I still don't even get it, you know. And it's one of those things, be careful what you ask for, you know. Yeah, I kept praying for God to use me in some way. And apparently this is the way he has saw fit to to use me. And then I'm wondering if it was like years ago, whenever I thought he wanted me to do stand-up comedy for churches and stuff. I thought maybe I still picked up the wrong phone. Maybe this is not what God had wanted. But so after doing like 4 trips with Patch Adams, I still felt like there was still something missing. You know, like there was still something with the clowning that I still wanted to do that was a little different than what we were doing with Patch. And it started to materialize on my very last trip with Patch, which was to Costa Rica. We were clowning, and then we stopped at a little store. Even when we were walking around not clowning, we were looking like this. So we were always in costume. That was his rule. We always had to be in costume. So even when we went to the Russian opera dressed like this, so they sat us in the balcony so nobody could see us. They did. I guess they didn't want the people in Swan Lake or whatever play with seeing clowns up there, you know. So where was I going with this story? So I felt we were in the store and we came out of the store and there was a woman who wanted us to buy some ice cream and we're like, no, we don't really want to buy any ice cream. And then she started telling us this story about how she had recently had a heart attack. She was in the hospital. While she was in the hospital, she lost her job because she couldn't work. And because she couldn't work, she lost her home because she couldn't have any money to pay for her home. So she was now homeless and this was her first job. And so she was telling us this whole story. And then of course we were like, oh, that's a horrible story. And so then we ended up buying all of her ice cream. We ended up paying like twice as much that she was asking. And then every day we were in Costa Rica, we kept seeing this woman and we kept buying all of her ice cream. And so by the end of this trip, she found us again and she said, I just want to let you know that, the company that I'm selling this ice cream for, they saw that I was selling so much ice cream that they decided to hire me full time. And so this was her first full-time job now. So hopefully I don't know whatever happened to her. But it was that moment that the wheels kind of started to churn up here. And I was like, what if we could combine this clowning with actually leaving something behind that was meaningful for the people that we were serving? And so I wasn't really finding an organization that was doing both the clowning and also some type of material or monetary or food, charity work. So I created one. I just called my organization Clowns on a Mission. And we found somebody in Guatemala who wanted us to come. And our first big thing was we were taking backpacks to give out to school children because in Guatemala you can't. Your parents either have to choose: do they send you to school or do they feed you? Because they couldn't afford to do both. So we bought 200 backpacks filled with them with school supplies. We went into Guatemala and we started handing these out to children. We had a local pastor who went with us and he would deliver the message everywhere we went. And then we would clown around and play, and then at the very end, we would hand out the backpacks. Well, while we were doing that, one of our ladies, Kim, who actually has a house in Guatemala, she was the one that had us come. She said, "Oh, these people are hungry. Somebody should buy them some food." And I'm like, "Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, somebody should buy them some food." And it didn't dawn on me that she was meaning us. and then she says, "Well, we're here now." And I'm like, "Yes, but how much is food? God called us to do backpacks this time. We don't have money for food. How much is food?" And we found out that for $150, we could buy 400 pounds of food. We could buy 200 pounds of rice, 200 pounds of corn for $150. And so we ended up buying 250 or 400 pounds of food. And then we took it back to our hotel and we started bagging everything up. And then everywhere we went, we also started handing out food. And that's kind of how Clowns on a Mission started. And that was back in 2024 was our first mission. We've done 3 now. We're getting ready to do our 4th in October. Now we're also a 501c3 nonprofit. And so that just happened recently. So, so I guess that's what God's calling me to do. And so we're still out there doing it. And here I am in my 50s.
Amazing, though, man. Now, if you were to go back in time, could you ever see yourself being a clown? When you first got into being a stand-up comedian?
No. This was just not on my radar at all. I never, because I thought the stand-up would lead into maybe doing some movies and things like that, or maybe like a TV spot or here. Never did I dream that I would be a clown in my 50s. So I'm 55 now and dressed like this all the time. So, this was definitely not on my bingo card or my bucket list of things to be doing in my 50s and 60s. And, but, Patch Adams is 81. He's still out there doing it, bless his heart. So I'm like, well, this is, I heard a quote from Jimmy Carter once saying he'll do the best he can for as long as he can, something to that effect. And that's kind of the way we are. I'll do this for as long as I can, make as much difference as I can, in any way that I can, while God sees fit to continue to send us. And not everything goes perfectly. That I have this bad habit of thinking that I can do this all by myself. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but
I think we're all in the same boat, man.
Yeah, I pray as a last resort. I don't pray about my mission until something goes wrong. If you catch my drift, so it's like I'm like, well, let me get my hotel rooms in order. Let me get this. Let me get that. Let me do all that. And I don't pray about anything. And then even on our most recent trip, which was in February, we're 30 minutes away. We flew to Guatemala. We're in this van that we rented. We have to do it's only 50 miles from the airport, but it takes us 3.5 hours to go 50 miles because of the roads and the traffic. So about 30 minutes away, I decided to call, the hotel and just let them know we're on our way. And they're looking at me. They're like, we don't have rooms for you. I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have rooms for us? I made these reservations. Yes, but you didn't really sound like you were serious. So you never really confirmed. And so we had all of these bicyclists come into town for a bicycle convention and we gave all your rooms away.
What?
Yeah. so just when I thought that, and see, I thought my Spanish was good enough that I could get across to the hotel that we needed these rooms. But luckily, one of the guys that God had put in our path his name is Alex. He runs a cafe, aptly titled Gospel Cafe. And so we called Alex in Guatemala and I said, hey, look, we're like 30 minutes away. We have no hotel rooms. The hotel gave our hotel rooms, but can you find us any kind of rooms anywhere? And so he kind of sprung into action and he found us 2 rooms at one hotel. Kim has a house there. She was planning to stay there, but she had other friends in town. So she moved to a different place to stay. She opened up a couple rooms. We did find rooms. And then God was still talking about, because then after 2 days, the hotel freed up and we could go back. And now I'm upset. I'm like, I don't want to go back. They gave my rooms away. I don't want to go there. And then God's like, but you have to go there because there's no other place for you all to go. And so I had to quickly have this little forgiveness moment and just go back to the hotel because we didn't really have a choice. and Alex was able to negotiate a better price for us because they gave our rooms away. So it all worked out in the end. But so I'm learning to now pray ahead of our trips. Like I'm starting to pray now for October. Pray that we get the right people. Pray that things go according to plan, and not wait until a tragedy happens and then pray.
I mean, I think that's really great advice, though. It's like we like I was saying when we first started. We often do that a lot. We're all in the same boat. We all make that mistake to say, "No, oh God, I got it. I'll figure this out on my own." And then once everything starts going south, or it's not going as planned, that's when you say, "Oh, I got to pray." It's like, Lord, I said I had it, but I don't know how many times I've said that to myself. Where I've gotten to talk to God and be like, "Wait a minute, God, I know I was silly to say that I had it all together." I mean, also to add to that too is like when good things are happening in life too, and this is going to hit home to somebody. When good things are happening in your life, you don't pray often, do you? But when everything starts to go bad, that's when you're suddenly looking at God like, "Okay, God, what did I do wrong?" And what I realized in this life is that's when we decided to stop looking at God and start figuring out, what our own egos, our own pride, that we can figure out on our own. We can do it by ourselves. And a lot of times what happens? Stuff doesn't work out. But as soon as we start going back to God and start praying, like you said, when you first start praying, that's what you always want to do now is you want to pray, because that's when stuff starts working. And the Holy Spirit starts connecting. He starts saying, "Hey, I got you. We're going to get you a room. We're going to get you a place. We're going to connect you to the right people. And you're going to make some people laugh. You're going to make people have great memories with you. And they're not going to think you're the evil clown. They're going to see you as the positive."
Well, and even still, and another thing that, my whole thing is sometimes I still have this mentality of that we still struggle every single time we have a trip. We struggle trying to find enough people who want to go on the trip with us to do the mission. And so I'm like, well, God, if this is what you want me to do, why are these people not just, knocking down my door ready to go on this mission? And so this is something that we struggle with every single time that a mission comes up, is me trying to find, I like to find at least 5 to 6 people who will travel there with me and to go. And so again, I'm doing Facebook posts and I'm doing podcasts and I'm doing Instagrams and I'm doing all these things trying to get people to go instead of just praying about it to begin with, which have I still prayed about October? Not really. So I've still been doing all of these shows and I've been doing all these podcasts and doing all these Instagram posts. And have I sat down and actually prayed to God to lead those people to me? Not yet. So that's my next step, is to pray about it. And I actually did write a book that actually is coming out in August, kind of about it's a couple things. It's really about the journey that we've had setting up Clowns on a Mission and getting our mission work done. But at the same time, we hear so many people say, "Oh, somebody should, set up an organization to do such and such, or somebody should really help these people over here clean up their lot," and we hear so many people saying that people should, but nobody steps up to the plate to actually do it. And so the title of the book is called "Be the Someone." It's really trying to empower people to, when you hear yourself saying somebody should, well, maybe that somebody should be you. And that's kind of what this book is about. So part of it's about our story, but a part of it is about everybody who reads this story, about there's probably something that you thought you should do or that somebody should do. And maybe God's just waiting for you to be the one to do it.
Hey. I mean, I think a lot of people, I've been hearing that all my life. That's kind of funny that resigned. That hit me kind of hard, because I've lived with that. Mm-hmm. It's like, if I don't do it, then who else is going to do it? That's how I've learned how to take things. And that's how it only takes one person, too. That's what I've learned, too. It only takes one person to change the world, to start something, to make a movement. And you're doing it right now, so much. Yeah, they're in 2 different ways, but we're doing it.
And as I tell God, I've raised, since we've become a 501c3, I've raised some money. So I'm like, if I have to, I've got money. If it has to just be me this time, I will go to Guatemala by myself. I will buy the food. I will rent the van. I'll do this because I have some people in Guatemala who will assist me. So if it has to just be me, I will go. I would like others to go with me, but we will make this happen. So it's one of those things that we will find the right crew again. Right now, I do have me and Bill, who has been on all of my trips so far. He has already said he will go in October, and so I know we'll have Kim and Alex, and we'll have our pastor. So we're ready to go in October. So we're just hoping to find maybe 4 more people to go with us, and so it'll be great. We'll have a great time, and regardless of who's with us, and I'll pray about this.
All right, somebody in the far back of the room is asking this question. They want to know, Bullseye, is there a Mrs. Bullseye, or is there in the works?
No. This is Bullseye and Bullseye only.
Now, do you plan? Do you see that in the long run? Do you see a future partner?
No, not really. And like I say, and for me, I think that. Not that I'm like going to be a clown monk or anything like that. But right now I really enjoy being by myself, because I can, if I just decide I want to travel to Guatemala to do a spur of the moment trip, or I want to go somewhere, I don't have to worry about anything. I can just go and I can do it. And so for me, I don't feel led down a partner path at the moment. And but like I said, if God sees that in my future, I'll leave that up to Him. But right now, I kind of see this as this is the path that God has me on right now, and so this is kind of what I'm going with. And I think that what I'm doing is easier. Honestly, it's probably easier to do alone, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so we'll just kind of, we'll kind of go along with that.
And now people would also want to know too. I mean, going to different countries, being in different areas, do you get the same kind of reaction wherever you go, or is it different each time?
I would say for the most part, we get the same reaction. One of the rules Patch had, and I still adopt it to this day, is we travel in costume. So like even when I go to the airport to fly to Guatemala, other than having the makeup on, I will have the same outfit on. I'll be wearing my clown shoes through the airport because they don't fit in my luggage. And so I'll get looks in the airport. And what I love to do during going to the airport is I pretend like there's nothing wrong. I'll just continue to walk through the airport. I'll have people be pointing and going, look, and I'll be looking for whatever they're trying to look at. And but I guess I travel this way. I always wonder what it would be like actually to not travel like this anymore, but I tend to travel a lot like this with my costumes on, and I have my little rubber chickens that I take with me on the airplanes and all that kind of stuff.
I can only imagine like you're walking to the airport, and like as you're going through security check, the thing goes off, and you're pulling out your rubber ducks, your gadgets,
my balloons, my all my scarves attached, I do love watching the little guy sitting at the little conveyor belt. He's looking at the little screen and he sees everything going by. And then all of a sudden, one of my shoes comes through, and he's like trying to figure out where this shoe came from.
Big old shoe.
Yeah, well, it is, and they're like this high. They're probably about like that high and about that long, and yeah.
Now, people also want to know: are you always in the clown outfit? Or are you like? Is there times where you're just yourself?
When I travel, I am. Like I said, whenever I go to on a clown trip, I don't take any normal clothes, so all my clothes are colorful. And I don't always have like the nose on, and I don't always have the makeup on. But I usually have like the costume. So I might be wearing this outfit that you're seeing here, and the hat, but maybe not with the nose on. And it's funny, I have a video of me on our last trip. We go to the first day of the trip, we go into a Guatemalan version of Costco, and that's where we buy 10, 15, 20 carts full of food. And so we're standing at the cash registers and we're paying for the stuff. and I had my nose on, and I had my costume on, other than my makeup, and I'm dancing and doing this big dance and people, you see people walking by, and not one person is noticing me. They're just like all walk, and I'm like, they act like this is like an everyday occurrence that there's a clown in the middle of Costco dancing at the register. They just kept walking by like there was nothing going wrong.
Good to see your books.
But we have a good time when we're there. Like I said, I have video where we filmed of us buying all the food. So now we buy food. We make grocery bags for a lot of the families that we visit, and then one of the things I wanted to do on our second trip is I wanted to do some kind of a soup kitchen, and we didn't really have a place to do a soup kitchen, so we ended up renting a van. And so we just we run a hot food truck out of the back of our van. We stop and we buy 200 fried chickens, and we make macaroni salad and tortillas, and we hand those out. There's a community of about 200 people who live right across the river, and they have a hard time crossing the river. So we drove our van through the river and went over there, and we started handing out food. So first year we had about 200. And so this year we planned for 200, and we had 250. So we had to run out and buy like 50 more chickens. And so when we go back in October, we'll probably plan for 300 just in case. I don't want to run out. So I would rather have more. I would rather be able to give them more than to not to give them enough. So we give out bags of groceries. We give out hot food everywhere we go. There's people who live in the local landfill. We stop out there. We clown with them. We give them food. So there we give around, we feed probably, well, I think we fed about 3,000 people since we've started.
Okay, dude.
So we keep going. Every time we go back, we hope to hit, we hit like 200, 250, 350. Yeah, so we try to hit close to 1,000 people each time we go.
Now, does the feeling, like, as long as you've been doing it, because I think it's incredible what you guys are doing, just the mission alone, you see the passion that you have for it. Is the feeling always the same every time you hand it out? How do you feel every time you're giving away that food?
I do. It is, I feel blessed. I feel blessed to be able to do it. It's not that I necessarily feel proud that we're doing it, but I do feel probably the best thing that can really happen, the best payment we get for what we do is every so often we'll go to somebody will reach out and just give us a hug, whether it's a child or whether it's usually it's one of the seniors. They will hug us for giving them food, and so that right there is that's the payment that we get from what we do. How we raise our money is we do it through fundraisers, and then also each clown who participates on the trip, they pay a fee to go. That fee goes right into the mission, and that's how we pay for the food that we give out as well. So that's why, whenever I'm like praying for people to go, that's one of the ways we raise our money. And we're trying to find sustainable ways. So not only do we want to buy groceries and hot food for them, but the one community, they have all this wonderful land, but they have no water. So now one of our goals is to figure out a way for this community to get water, whether it's we dig them wells, whether there's some trench that we can dig from the river to their community to have water somehow go into their community. We're trying to figure that out now, because we would love for them to be able to farm their own land. And same thing with the people who live in the local landfill. We would like to create a community garden there in the landfill where they can grow some of their own food. And then also if they need to, they can go sell the food in order to make money as well. So those are some future projects that we're still looking for so that they can sustain themselves while we're gone until our next visit. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Each time we go, we're trying to do something a little different than we didn't do before. So we're still trying to improve and find different things that we can do to bless the people of Guatemala.
Incredible. That's incredible, man. I'm thinking about some. A lot of people are probably watching this and they're thinking like, well, this isn't your typical clown. You're thinking that he's a circus act or something. What's going on here? This clown's on a mission. And do you get that a lot though? People see you and they assume that you're just a circus clown or How do people
Oh, they do.
approach you guys?
They do, and they want to know what we're doing. Where are you performing? What are you doing? And so that's when we tell them that we are doing a mission in Guatemala, and I do want to say, like, if anybody happens to be watching this who thought, oh, I would love to go, but I'm not a clown. You don't have to be a clown to go. We just ask you to wear bright colors. We will provide the nose for you, and we will actually give you stuff. So I take temporary tattoos. I take face paints. I take balloons. We take games. So we will show you what to do. You don't even have to know how to do anything. You don't have to be able to speak Spanish in order to go. My Spanish apparently is still pretty weak, as you can tell by I thought I had a reservation for a hotel and I did not. so apparently my Spanish was not that great, or didn't get across real well. But no, you don't have to be a clown to go. The whole point is you just have to have a heart that's pure, that you want to go and help. And we will take anybody who wants to go. That's the whole point. I was never a clown before I went on my trip with Patch Adams. And it's really just spending time with people. And sometimes, you know what, when you're dressed like this, you might just get a kid who wants to come and sit on your lap and they just want a hug. And that might be what you do at each place that we go. You might be the hugger. They might come and sit on your lap. And for an hour that you're there, you might just be hugging children. And that's great. That's exactly what we're there for. We're there to spend time with each person. For whatever length of time we're there, we're not the stars. Our job is to make sure that they feel like the star of the show while we're there. And that's kind of what we do. So if there's anybody out there who feels like they would love to go, but they're not a clown, you don't have to be. So like I said, it's just really, I can't, and the trip does just as much for you as it does for the people that you're serving. It's a trip it'll change you. Well, you go on a trip like this, it changes you. Doesn't seem like dressing up like a clown would change you, but it does.
Change your whole world, your whole perspective. I mean, how do people get in contact with you, though, that actually want to do this, want to be a part of your mission, or if they want to donate to your mission?
You can, we have a website, clownsonamission.com. And if you go to clownsonamission.com, there's actually a little tab right at the top that says Guatemala. You can click right on that. That'll tell you how you can join our trip in October. We do 2 trips a year. So we will do a trip in October. Then our next trip will be in April of next year. So about every April and every October, we will plan a trip. I do know somebody in Costa Rica. So I'm thinking maybe next year we might do a trip to Costa Rica. I know somebody who runs a Christian organization there. They actually have a feeding center. And so from 9 a.m. until like 1 o'clock, they serve like 400 people. They give out free meals. So we've thought about partnering with them and going there and giving them, partnering with them and actually helping them in their feeding center. But then at the same time, we will then do some little one-offs from there and do like our little Clowns on a Mission for some of the people that he recommends, so that's still in the pipeline. So we're hoping to maybe hit Costa Rica. And then he's also got some other places in like Nicaragua and Honduras and some other places like that. So we'll be looking to expand, hopefully. But right now, like I said, Guatemala's our home away from home. And people want to know, why do you go to Guatemala? And one is because I have contacts there now. So that's kind of our number one thing, is we'd like to have contacts in whatever country that we're going to. And then also our money goes so much further in Guatemala than it would, say, here in the United States. We can do so much more in Guatemala with what money we're taking in. So,
are you still in contact with Patch Adams?
I am, and actually, Patch actually wrote the foreword to my book, so I'm happy about that. So, I call him every so often. Like I said, he's getting older, so he's getting forgetful. So I don't know if he always knows who I am. But he just knows I'm a clown. And like I said, he's still, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's actually still goes on his trips or not. He still does the trips and has other people lead them. But I've been hearing things that he hasn't been real well, even though he's 81. So, but as far as up to last year, he was still doing his trips. And even during COVID, he had one of his legs amputated, but he still went. He still went to Morocco and Costa Rica with us, and he loved to take his leg off and scare the children. Like, ah! He'd draw little faces on his stump on his leg, and so he's a character.
Where do you want to go with your mission? What is your ultimate goal?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I would say like the most immediate goal is really to create sustainable change. That is because I feel like right now what we're doing is we are creating a temporary fix. So we're temporarily giving people food, and we're temporarily giving people access to water. And so I want to do something that's going to be more sustaining. And if I could, I would love to inspire the people from the villages that we visit. I would love to inspire them to, in turn, pay it forward to other people. I know Kim has been talking about buying a plot of land in Guatemala where we could farm the land. So she would have locals come in, they would farm the land. And for farming the land, she would not only give them food for them, but for them to be able to sell the food, and then also to give that food away to people who could not afford the food. So we're still looking for other avenues like that, as far as being able to be a sustainable mission to where, like, they're not waiting until the next time we come back to get food. And like I said, we still will send food ahead. We send money to Guatemala once a month. There's a senior center there, who the only way they eat is if they get donated food. And so we still give them food once a month while we're out and about. We will still send money back that way. And then we have the local pastor there. He and his wife will actually prepare the food and take it over to the nursing home. So just finding different ways to make this self-sustaining that is, I guess, our next goal. And I would love to expand it, as I mentioned, into other countries, being able to do this in other places that need the help.
What's the biggest thing you ever came across, like biggest problem that you guys faced while going to Venezuela?
Well, I mean, other than our hotel rooms being
other than finding out that you had no room to stay, no place to lay your head. That'd be
every obstacle that we do face is we didn't plan for, so it's like we would now have it play. Like the first trip, we relied on locals' cars, so we had 2 cars, and we locked the keys in one car. We had to break the window out. We had a flat tire. We had an oil leak. And then one of the people who donated the cars, they needed it one of the days, one of our busiest mission days. So we were down to 1 car. So all the clowns had to cram into 1 car and hold all of the food. And we're trying to balance it. And so we learned after the very first one that, okay, we definitely need to rent a van. So now we will not do another trip without renting a van. So the last few times we've rented our van. From now on, I will have a local, Alex, make our hotel reservations so he can do it in Spanish, and he knows how to communicate with them. We just, every obstacle we face, we overcome. We figure it out. So far, we have not encountered anyone telling us not to come, or not to hand out the food, or not to do things. So that's been a blessing. People say, well, I don't understand why you got to do this dressed as a clown. Why can't you just go and hand out food and do all this stuff and whatnot? Because we've had people say that, and there's actually one major reason, and that is because a lot of places will allow a clown to go where they would not necessarily allow a missionary to go. If I was in a suit and a tie and I wanted to go into certain hospitals, or I wanted to go into certain buildings, some red flags might go up if they see me holding some brochures and I'm dressed in a tie, but dressed as a clown, they don't even question it. They just let you go in, So there is a reason people will let clowns get into places that most people cannot get into. And so they're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll have some clowns come in, sure, And I witnessed that in, I think it was Morocco. We wanted to go into a refugee camp. And of course, a refugee camp is just not going to allow anyone to come into a refugee camp. But when a bus full of clowns show up with balloons and instruments and stuff, they allow us to go in. Prisons allow us to go in, where probably they wouldn't allow anyone else to go in. And honestly, we got searched a little bit going into the prison, but not as much as I was expecting to get searched going into a prison. They're just like, oh yeah, it's a bunch of clowns, or they got rubber chickens and balloons, and okay, go ahead. And so yeah, that's one of the reasons we do it. And plus, it's fun. It's fun. We bring a lot of fun and joy, and that's kind of one of our. I even have a T-shirt that has Proverbs 17:22 on it. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bone. So I figured that's a perfect reason for us to be dressed the way we are when we go.
Amen to that, man. Amen. So do you preach at all, or is it just mainly your pastor?
Well, right now it's my pastor until my Spanish is a little bit better. I have been studying Spanish now for about 350 days. So I'm about almost a year into like studying Spanish. So, but I will write, like I do take little heart balloons, and then I do write phrases on them, like, Jesus loves you, or, things like that. I'll write little phrases, little gospel phrases and stuff on the balloons, and little phrases of inspiration everywhere that we go. God loves you. Things like that.
It's the basic stuff.
yeah. No, whatever will fit on a little balloon, I will.
And then as a clown, you're trying not to pop the balloon. You're like,
exactly, yes.
Everybody's watching you, like, oh, it's not gonna work for him. It's gonna pop.
Yeah. Praise the Lord. Pray off and pray that the balloon doesn't pop. Whatever it is.
Let's fly it.
Actually, what I should start looking for is I should start looking for balloons that already have like a little Spanish gospel phrase on them, that when we blow it up, that's already on there, and I wouldn't have to write that. That might be even easier.
I wonder if you could get custom balloons like that, though. I mean, could you actually get them made like that? You just blow them up and it's already there. There's got to be something out there already.
Well, somebody's watching this and they have something. Let me know. Yeah, that might be something.
We're talking to you. We're talking to you. We're talking to you. Yeah, you with that idea. Make it happen.
We'll make it. We'll make it happen. Yes. And even if it's just something like a different Bible, just like Psalm 21:1 or whatever it happens to be, just have like a Bible verse on there. Just like the verse and the phrase.
Okay. Now the thing is, so you guys, how often do you get criticized when you're out there worshiping and you guys are doing your thing? How many people are like coming at you and attacking you? Do you guys get that often or no?
So far, no. So far, we have not in the places that we've gone. And I think one of the reasons why is because the pastor who goes with us, he vets all of the areas. So he's out there every day going into all of these areas that we visit when we go. So his job is to find where the most need is. And so as he's doing his ministering every day, he'll be in a different community every day. He'll be preaching messages every day. He knows where the needs are. And so usually those places will will welcome us with open arms. So far, knock on wood, we have not had any issues with anybody protesting us or telling us not to come or
no clowns allowed. No clowns allowed.
So far we have not. Now that's not to say like when we were in Russia, Patch said some of his clowns one year got arrested going across the Red Square. But so far I have never been arrested as a clown, so that's good.
Thank God. All right, as we begin to wrap this thing up, I simply want to say thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It's been an awesome journey so far, and I know it's only at the beginning.
It is, yeah. Like I said, we're a very young company and very young mission, but and like I said, if God decides he wants to keep it small, then that's what we'll do. But like I said, this is what one person can do. This was an idea formed, and we're getting ready to head out on our 4th trip in October. And like I said, we have fed close to 3,000 people so far, and just the 3 trips that we've done. And so our job is to keep going and see how many more we can feed and see what other sustainable change we can make, and see if we can get some running water and some electricity in some of these places, and see what we can do. And hopefully God will equip us with either the knowledge or the people who have the knowledge. Because I know I don't have the knowledge on all of that stuff, so that's going to definitely require prayer. so so that's something I know nothing about. So I can clown and I can take groceries and I can take water, but I can't. I mean, I guess I can dig a trench if somebody tells me what I'm doing. So so we just need to find people who can do what we need to get done.
All right. So I can't end it without, because I know somebody's watching this, somebody's listening to this. They want to know. Come on, Chris. Have Bullseye do like a trick or something. He's a clown. Let him do something. Give him something to prove that he's a clown.
I don't even know if I do.
I like the dude. He's his full outfit, man. Come on, give him a break.
I don't even have a. Well, if you told me that I needed something prepared, I would have prepared something. I could have done a balloon animal, but I don't even have a balloon handy right now. I will show you something though. These are. I do happen to have one of these handy. This is my nut. This is probably the most popular item that I take with me every year to Guatemala. So this is a little rubber chicken. This is a chicken flinger. The children love these things. You just take this, you put it on your finger, and you flip it, and it flies clear across the room. So that's like one of our. So you're too bad I couldn't get it to fly right across the year, but that's like one of our. I take probably about 1,000 of those with me every time we go. There we go. I saw it fly right by your head.
What was that? How'd you do that?
and if you do go to Guatemala, what our other clown Bill does magic tricks. I do a lot of balloons while we're there, so I will do balloon animals while we're there. I definitely flip the chicken, so we do have like the little chicken flingers, and so we make it a contest. So I'll make like little targets for the kids to try to flip the chickens through. And you would think that we're rock stars when they start seeing those chickens. Those kids are jumping up and down and screaming like, and yeah. What I honestly, what I love about Guatemala, where we go, is here in the United States, the children have so much and they don't really appreciate what they have. The children in Guatemala have so little, but they would be willing to give you the last of what they have. They can be so happy with a ball. So like I said, if we did nothing but just take like, soccer balls or kickballs or something like that, if we just took 5 or 6 of those kids would be the happiest kids. And they could play for hours just by the two little things. We give them the little chickens and balloons and they're happy, So it's really heartwarming to go to a place like that and to know that you're making some kind of a difference and you're allowing the kid and everyone, because it's funny because I'll see the old seniors and they'll be picking the little chickens up and they're trying to figure out how to flip them. And
the kid never dies with us, man. It never does.
It does. It just allows everybody to be a child all over again, and that's kind of what we do when we're there. I'll make balloon swords, and I'll actually play with the senior men at the senior community. We'll have sword fights, and they have a great time with it. So
I fought a clown today.
Exactly.
Had a sword fight with a clown. All right. What I like to do with my guests, I always like to pass the microphone over to you guys and allow you to ask me, the host, 3 questions. Whatever you got on the top of your mind, anything. I'm a complete open book. Just don't make it too challenging.
Okay. I guess the first question I would ask is, what led you to want to start a podcast?
I've said this many times, but I like to reword it every time I say it. I used when I first got out of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just had a passion for traveling. Because when I was in 7th grade, junior high, I was traveling with my dad because he was a truck driver. And he was out on the road, He worked for a moving company, so he would pack up people's stuff. But during that time period, I got to see a lot of the world. And it really opened my passion. It made me hungry to be out there. I wanted to see more. And as I was out there, as I got older, I got to meet more people. I got to, to interact with people. Because a lot of times you ask your friends, let's go somewhere. Let's go on a trip somewhere. And, everybody's down to do it. But when the time comes, what happens? They back out. So what happened is a lot of times I would have these trips booked, and I would have to go by myself because my buddies would back out at the last minute. So during this time period, I was meeting a lot of people on the go. I'd meet a lot of people on the road. I'd be on a train. I'd be on a plane going somewhere. I mean, just going anywhere. And so that's where it came across. Is I would meet people on these trips, and I would get to know them. And before you know it, by the time I was getting off to where I needed to go to my destination, I've learned their whole entire life. And I was thinking to myself, man, I got all this wisdom, all this knowledge, all this information from somebody I just met. But yet I'm never going to see that person ever again. And then I would, once I seen other people and friends, they'd be like, Chris, I'd be sharing a story about, the person. And they had, people would be asking me, like, where'd you get that from? How'd you learn that? That's a cool story. I'm like, that's somebody I met. I met somebody on a train, or I was on a plane going somewhere, and I got to hear this person's story, and what they did in their life was incredible, was amazing. And then, that's how this became a thing. Because I started seeing stuff on like podcasts, because I started talking to God, and I'm like, God, what should I do with all this information, all this knowledge? And then it slowly but surely it came across as you should start something like a podcast or something, your own, because you see everybody else doing their thing. How cool would it be for anybody to come out here, have an open mic, and be able to share their story and tell it to the world, and not only just tell it to the world, but help somebody that is in the same boat as them. And that's what I love about this podcast, man. Because even though people see you dressed as a clown, I'm positive that you inspired somebody today. Because you could have gave up on life. You could have said, you could have stayed on that factory line. You could have stayed wherever you was at. But you're just out here, you're making a difference. You're making a difference. And I'm honored that I got to hear your story today, man. Because it's truly incredible. Just hearing your mission. And I know that God is only at the beginning of it. You're about to do some incredible things. You're already doing incredible things, but this is just the start.
Well, since you like to travel, then I expect you to go to Guatemala with me.
Eventually one day I will. You never know. I might be out there, I'll be out there passing out food too. And I might be preaching as well. But I got to work on my Spanish.
Me too. So that was question number. So question number 2. So far, I don't know how many episodes you have done so far, but is there a particular story that somebody has told you that's really stuck with you?
They all do. Not to sound cliche or whatever, but they really do. Everybody's, who share their story on here, it always hits me the same way. Because I always look at it like, you're out here living it. You're doing it. And a lot of people, like, what inspires me the most about everybody's story is at one point in time, they could have gave up.
Mm-hmm.
They could have said, I'm done. They could have just laid flat, gave up on life completely. But, especially what they were going through. You were there. I was there. No. The 100 other people that had on this podcast were all there. Laid flat on their back. Could have gave up. Could have just let life, walk all over them. They didn't. They shared that story. And I know that everybody that's been on here, every story that will be on here in the future, is going to inspire people. That's why I love doing this, man. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah. And I want to take one of the questions you asked me, and I want to turn it back on you now. And where do you hope to see this podcast going in the future? What is your end destination, or where are you hoping that this will take you?
It's not really about taking me anywhere. It's not about like the followers or the likes or anything like that. It's really, for me, whoever's watching this, listening to this, I'd rather you get to learn. You're getting this for free. This is wisdom, knowledge that people had to pay for. They had to pay the price for it. You're watching this, man, and you're learning something. You're learning from them. And that's the blessing ultimately. Like for me, I hope that, people years from now, see these stories and are still inspired, or still moved by them, and it does something for them. It makes it hits them in the chest. They're like, shoot, this guy's dressed as a clown, but he's out here making a difference. He's making a difference in the world. Now, what's holding you back? That's the real question. What's holding you back? What's stopping you from unleashing what you have in here? You have a lot of potential. You feel that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a heartbeat, man. That's a heartbeat inside you. That means you still have purpose in this world. So go make something happen. Dun, dun.
Those are good answers. Those are good answers. Yeah.
Sorry, sometimes I get kind of into it, get too deep, but I'm just being honest, guys.
That's good.
I'm just being honest. I want you guys to know the truth. Like, everybody always asks, like, especially with that question, like, where do you see this podcast going? I just want to keep talking to people. I just want to keep having people come on. And if it gets to where it needs to be, I mean, it's all up to God. Whatever God wants to do with it. If this is the podcast that He wants to grow and let it be all over the world, that's His choice. It's His will, But for now, I'm just using this platform to have everybody come, share their stories, and for you, the watcher or listener, to get something incredible from this. Because not a lot of people get to interview a clown every day, right?
True.
Once in a lifetime. But those I see you all over the place, man. So you actually, you were on somebody else's podcast that I just had previously as a guest on my own show.
I think was it Danny?
Yeah, Danny.
Danny Cohen? Yeah.
Because I just had him on here not too long ago, and I was like, hey, wait, Bullseye's on there too.
Yeah, I get around. I try to do as many as I can just to try to get the awareness out, I guess. And every little bit helps, I guess. Every little eyeball helps spread the message.
I know. I was like, hey, it's Bullseye, man. I'm just talking to him. I was just sending him an email. He's over here. He's on Dan's show now. That's cool. But I can't wait to have him on my show.
I'm out there doing it.
How many shows you been on, actually?
Oh, well, probably in the last since 2018, I don't know, maybe 20.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only the beginning, though. You'll be out there as well. Sharing your story.
And like I said, I'm kind of selective. I don't, I kind of watch a couple episodes of somebody's show. If I don't like their show, I won't do it. I mean, I can kind of tell based on, what kind of format they have. So there are just some shows that I don't feel that I'm right for, and so I don't go on to shows that I don't feel that I'm right for, or they're the right audience for me, I guess, and which is okay, which is fine. And I'm same. I don't get upset when people don't want me on their show because maybe I'm not the kind of guest that they want. So it all works
for
out.
anybody, and for me as well, I'd like to say, you guys watching, listening, this is for everybody. This is for everybody. I want you to be on the show. You have a story to share. And for you to saying right now, no, I don't. Yes, you do. I want you to be on here. You think that I wouldn't allow a clown on our show? And this is not just a clown, man. This is Bullseye, man. He's doing incredible things out there. And like Patch Adams did, he's probably gonna be bigger than Patch Adams. I'm sorry.
Well, let's hope.
I definitely see the way God works, man, in mysterious ways.
Well, I got a lot of work. I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and you're still young. You're still young.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
You're only in your 50s. Patch Adams is 81 now.
Yes,
Somebody's got to carry the torch.
I still got a good 20 years left. Woo!
30, 40. Who knows? Who knows, man?
Maybe I'll get as old as Moses. I don't know, or Noah.
Oh man, who is it? Well, we won't get too deep into that Bible. I think that was just. I think somebody ended up being 777 years old. I was thinking, what always gets me about them guys was Abraham and Sarah. When Abraham found out that Sarah was going to be pregnant, and he was like, "What? You know how old we are, God?" And he, doubted. Sarah laughed in the background, like, "Dude, I'm 99. God, are you serious?"
Well, if I get to be that age and I'm still clowning, I'm going to need a lot more makeup. That's for sure.
You look good now, man. What are you talking about? All right, guys. Other than that, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stick with Bryan. Bullseye the Clown, man. But other than that, peace out.